Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 4 starts with the living mourning the dead. Daenerys cries over Jorah, her loyal friend and protector. Sansa cries over Theon and puts a stark pin on his Greyjoy armor. Theon never felt accepted by either family in life, but in death he's a Greyjoy and a Stark. Beric, Ed, Lyanna, Kono, and thousands of others died in the Long Night, including some 100,000 zombies who were all once men, women, and children. Jon gives a speech and says everyone set aside their differences to fight together, but soon division and suspicion set in, and a new war takes shape. After all the death, the living celebrate life with food, drink, and sex in that order. Daenerys speaks with Gendry, the bastard son of the old king, Robert Baratheon. All the Baratheons are dead now, so Dany decides to legitimize Gendry, to legally remove his bastardy. She makes him Gendry Baratheon, Lord of Storm's End. This is a common strategy in Game of Thrones. You give someone a position of power that they owe to you, and you've made yourself a powerful ally. So Daenerys calls this a clever move, but legitimizing Gendry is risky. He's the son of a king, so Gendry or his children could potentially make a claim on the throne. Like 100 years ago, the Targaryens legitimized the bastard Blackfyres, which led to a series of rebellions that lasted for generations. Gendry might not rebel, but any of his descendants could. The Lord of Storm's End rules the Stormlands, one of the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros, so Gendry is now one of the most powerful politicians on the continent, which is crazy, because as Gendry says, he doesn't know how to be a lord, he hardly knows how to use a fork. This is also a reminder that the Seven Kingdoms exist. Westeros is a feudal society, ruled by a hierarchy of lords, and in early seasons, the story focused on the families who ruled each kingdom. But now they seem irrelevant. No one even seems to know who rules each kingdom. Tyrion and Davos talk about the Lord of Light, the fire god worshipped by Melisandre. It seems as though the Lord helped win the war against the White Walkers. His magic lit the trenches and the Arrax, and guided Mel to send Arya at the Night King. It's said that his magic resurrected Jon and Beric, gave Daenerys her dragons, gave the Hound a vision, and had some great destiny planned for them all. But now, Davos says, the Lord of Light fucks off with no explanation. So what was the magic and destiny stuff all about? Tyrion says thinking about this won't make you happy, which is like a meta message to the audience, telling us that the gods and magic and prophecies in the story won't be explained, so don't think about it. Tyrion speaks with Bran, and Bran says that his wheelchair is based on a specific historical wheelchair. As the three-eyed raven, Bran can see all of the past and present. It'd be nice if he revealed something useful, like Cersei and Euron's military movements, but instead, Bran talks about wheelchairs. He says he mostly lives in the past, and that he doesn't want any more. Becoming a magic wheelchair encyclopedia has caused Bran to lose his humanity. Tyrion says that Bran's knowledge would make him a good ruler, and Varys later says that the best ruler might be someone who doesn't want to rule, and Bran doesn't want. So, if the show wants to be really surprising, they could end with Bran on the throne. Strangely, Bran has been a favorite on betting sites for months now. Maybe someone knows something. And, how else will Bran's story end? If he won't rule Winterfell and won't be a tree man, maybe he'll be king. Tormund talks up Jon, saying he's a great leader, because Jon is strong, makes allies, rides dragons, and doesn't afraid of anything. And Daenerys is upset, because she's a strong leader and dragon rider, and she's been doing it for 6 seasons. She sacrificed half her armies, friends, and a dragon saving the North, and yet she's still not getting the love and loyalty that she needs. This is similar to when Dany's brother Viserys was jealous of Dany for the loyalty she got in Season 1. Viserys reacted with rash, angry violence, which led to his death. The show might be hinting at a similar fate for Daenerys. Tormund says that dragon riders are either kings or madmen. Jon is framed as a king, and Daenerys as a madman. And yeah, there's also a coffee cup in the shot, which is either a production mistake or the smartest product placement ever. Tyrion, Jaime, and Brienne play Tyrion's drinking game from Season 1, where you have to guess truths about each other. Tyrion guesses that Brienne is a virgin, and she gets uncomfortable and leaves. Jaime goes after her, breaking the heart of poor Tormund. He has a massive crush on Brienne, but a serving girl comes to cheer him up. Pod the Rod picks up 2 girls. He's made a reputation for himself. The Hound speaks with Sansa. Last time they saw each other, Sansa was a scared, naive girl, and the Hound was fleeing battle. He had offered to take Sansa with him, but she refused, and ended up with Littlefinger and Ramsay. Sansa says that her experiences made her the person she is now. She learned from some of the worst people in Westeros, and their manipulative methods and their cruelty have rubbed off on Sansa. She smiles about having Ramsay torn apart by dogs, just as Ramsay smiled when he had people killed by dogs. And Sansa's scheming this episode to undermine Daenerys is totally Littlefinger's style. While everyone else has fun together, Arya is alone, training. Gendry comes and asks her to marry him, to be the Lady of Storm's End. But Arya says she's not a lady, that's not her, which is a reference to Season 1. Arya never wanted to marry a lord and have 10 kids in a castle, so she turns Gendry down. This is similar to when Gendry's father, Robert, loved Arya's aunt, Lyanna. Lyanna was a rebellious, adventurous girl like Arya, and Robert was a Baratheon warrior with a hammer like Gendry. Lyanna didn't love Robert back. She ran off with Rhaegar and had Jon instead, and so Robert started the war that took down the Targaryens. Tyrion says this episode that the last 20 years of war traces back to Robert and Lyanna, so hopefully Gendry takes rejection better than his father did. Jaime comes to Brienne's room and uses the classic "it's too hot in here for clothes" move. There's been sexual tension with these guys since Season 3, and now they finally consummate their love. They're both awkward and shy. This is Brienne's first time, and it's Jaime's first time with anyone other than Cersei. Jaime and Brienne have never had healthy sexual relationships before, and Jaime ultimately can't handle it. When he hears that Daenerys is closing in on Cersei, Jaime leaves Brienne and rides south. Brienne begs him to stay, says he's a good man and that he doesn't need Cersei, but Jaime feels defined by his crimes. He crippled Bran, killed his cousin, and threatened Riverrun, all to be with Cersei. Cersei represents Jaime's failures and flaws, and he feels that he can't escape her or change the hateful man that he really is. So, has Jaime's redemption arc failed? Jaime's story isn't as simple as a bad guy becoming a good guy. Author George Martin says that Jaime's arc explores the limits of redemption, whether it's even possible to be forgiven for crimes so horrible. Brienne believes in Jaime, but Jaime doesn't believe in himself. Maybe he'll return to Cersei and to her hateful ways. Or maybe this is about confronting Cersei. Maybe Jaime will redeem himself by facing his evil twin, his darker half. The books hint that Jaime might kill Cersei, but he might die in the process. Jaime and Cersei believe that they'll die together. This is also awful for Brienne. One of the defining moments in her backstory was being mocked and betrayed by boys who pretended to like her. Now she's suddenly dumped by the first man she ever made love with. Brienne has won respect as a knight, but will she ever get love? Maybe she'll follow Jaime south and play a role in the final confrontations. Jon and Daenerys get their fuck on until they remember that Daenerys is Jon's aunt. Jon's real name is Aegon Targaryen, and he has a better claim on the throne than she does. So Dany's worried that people will want him to rule Westeros instead of her. She saw how people love him as a leader, and even if Jon refuses the throne, he could still be used against Dany. So she begs him to keep his identity secret, but Jon says he has to tell his family the truth. Ned Stark kept the secret of Jon's parents all his life, but now Jon is determined to reveal the secret, even though it could destroy his relationship with Dany and his family. The war against Cersei is planned. Apparently, only half of the Unsullied Dothraki and Northmen died last episode. It had looked like most everyone died, but apparently the zombie apocalypse wasn't so apocalyptic after all. Cersei has the Golden Company, 20,000 mercenary soldiers. Daenerys has the North and the Vale, and now she also has the Iron Islands and Dorne, thanks to Yara and a new Dornish prince. So Daenerys is in a strong position. She just needs to find a way to remove Cersei without killing innocent people in King's Landing. Cersei is using civilians as a meat shield. Tyrion and Jon suggest putting the city under siege and starving the people until they rise up against Cersei, which is a pretty bad plan. In Season 6, Cersei blew up the Pope. She murdered hundreds of innocent people, including the Faith, the beloved Tyrells, and her own uncle, and everybody, including Hot Pie, knows she did it. Cersei has no claim on the throne, she hates the people, and the people hate her. So surely if the people were gonna rise up, they would have done it already. And sure, maybe starving the people will motivate them, but that defeats the whole purpose of taking the city without hurting innocents. A much better solution to the Cersei problem is standing right there. Arya is a highly trained faceless assassin. Just last season, she infiltrated the twins, wore Walder Frey's skin, and wiped out an entire house. Surely she could sneak in and kill Cersei. And next to Arya is Bran, the guy who knows everything and can scout with ravens. Also present is Davos, who smuggled Tyrion into the Red Keep last season. These characters defeated the apocalypse last episode. Surely, together, they could use their skills to kill Cersei safely. And if all else fails, they could just attack King's Landing normally with soldiers and try to minimize casualties, just like every other battle Daenerys has fought. This expectation that Daenerys has to capture the capital gently is totally unreasonable. It's a plot contrivance to make Dany choose between two extremes. Will she find a peaceful solution, or will she burn them all like her father before her? Sansa and Arya confront Jon and say that they don't trust Daenerys. They don't want their home and their family subject to a foreign dragon queen. And Sansa doesn't want Jon to march south. There's a history of Starks going south and not coming back. But Jon says he's not a Stark. He reveals the truth, that he's a Targaryen. So this separates Jon from the Starks. Is he still part of the family? Jon was Arya's favourite brother growing up because they were both misfits. Arya a tomboy and Jon a bastard. But now it turns out that Jon wasn't a bastard and he wasn't her brother. He's a Targaryen cousin. This could distance Jon from his sisters, though the scene cuts off so we don't get to see their reactions. Jon makes his sisters swear to keep the secret. Swearing in front of a hut tree has religious significance. But Sansa soon breaks her vow and tells Tyrion, because Sansa wants Jon on the throne instead of Daenerys. Tyrion tells Varys and the scheming begins. So Jon's secret and Sansa's oath-breaking threatens to divide Daenerys, Jon, and the Starks. Arya rides south with the Hound, and she says that she won't go back. Recently, Arya declared that she was a Stark of Winterfell, but now it seems she's rejecting her family and home, maybe partly because of Jon's revelation. Arya says she has unfinished business, which probably means killing Cersei and the Mountain, the last two names on her death list. But if Arya succeeds, what happens next? Like, can Arya live without her family? The Starks say that the pack survives, but the lone wolf dies. The Hound also has unfinished business. He wants to kill his brother the Mountain, and he suggested before that he and Arya could do it together. He mentions how Arya once left him for dead when he was hurt. Maybe this time Arya will mercy kill her friend. Bronn turns up at Winterfell and threatens Tyrion and Jaime. He was sent north by Cersei, who offered him a castle if he kills her brothers. But Tyrion offers Bronn a better castle, Highgarden, the capital of the Reach. It's a ridiculously rich prize for a sellsword like Bronn, but Bronn argues that every great house was founded by some cutthroat, and he's not wrong. When the Tyrells took Highgarden, they were just opportunistic stewards, and House Lannister is said to have been founded by Lann the Clever, who used a combination of trickery, sex, and butter to take Casterly Rock. So Tyrion promises to give Bronn Highgarden, a promise that he probably can't keep. Like, even if Daenerys wins her war, why would she agree to give one of the most important castles in Westeros to the cutthroat who threatened Tyrion and shot her dragon last season? Bronn walks away satisfied with this empty promise, even though his complaint in the first place is that all he's got from the Lannisters is empty promises. The whole Bronn arc this season seems kinda pointless, so why is it in here? In a recent interview, George Martin said that sometimes TV networks demand more of a popular character even when they're not relevant to the story, and the video implies that he's talking about Bronn, so maybe that's why Bronn's so prominent this season. Jon farewells Tormund. He and the wildlings are going back beyond the wall, and Jon sends Ghost along with them. This loyal direwolf survived a cavalry charge on the dead last episode, but now Jon gives him away without so much as a pat. This represents Jon breaking away from his Stark identity, or maybe it just represents that the wolves are annoying to film. Tormund says that Jon would be happier beyond the wall, that he's got the real North in him. Some of Jon's only moments of real happiness were beyond the wall with Ygritte. Jon says he wishes he could go north with Tormund, and Tormund says, you never know. There are theories about Jon's story ending in the north, either as a Night's Watchman or a White Walker-y person, or just some sad duty so he can get back to brooding in the snow, which is what Jon was always good at. Maybe in the end, Jon will return north, and Ghost will get the pats he deserves. Jon farewells Sam and Gilly. Gilly is pregnant with their kid, and she says they'll name him after Jon. Thrones journalist Joanna Robinson writes that this is similar to the end of The Lord of the Rings. The hero's best friend, named Sam, gets a happy ending. He falls in love with a woman named after a flower, and they name their kid after the hero. But the hero, Frodo, is damaged. He never quite heals from his wounds, and so he passes on to a distant realm. Maybe, like Frodo, Jon will have a bittersweet ending beyond the wall. Author George Martin has said that the ending of Thrones will be similar to Lord of the Rings. Tyrion tells Varys about Jon's Targaryen identity, and Varys thinks that Jon would be a better ruler than Daenerys, because he's a good leader and because he's a man, which the Westerosi prefer. It's pretty ridiculous that Varys turns against Dany so suddenly. He supported her for at least 4 seasons, and for good reason. Dany has spent her whole story learning to be a queen, but now Varys dumps Dany for the first person he sees with Targaryen blood and a penis. Varys says he's worried about Daenerys' state of mind, and there is a history of Targaryens going mad and violent, like Dany's father, the Mad King. But Varys didn't care when Dany burned and crucified innocent people in Meereen, so why turn against her now? Varys says his goal is to bring peace to Westeros, but by jumping from one ruler to another so many times, Varys has contributed to chaos and war. Of course, the obvious solution here is for Jon and Daenerys to get married, to combine their claims, but Varys dismisses the marriage idea. The story just won't let Jon and Dany have such a simple, happy ending. The Targaryen fleet reaches Dragonstone, and suddenly Euron 360 noscopes the dragon Rhaegal with scorpion bolts from ships that he'd hidden behind a rock. He demolishes Dany's fleet, captures Missandei, and kills the dragon. So, in one scene, this fucking discount Jack Sparrow does as much damage to Daenerys as the Night King managed in the entire Long Night. And Daenerys should have seen this coming. She's been sneak attacked by Euron's fleet before. Her dragons have been shot with scorpions before, and this all happens at Dragonstone, right on Cersei's doorstep. One of the advantages of dragons is that you can see threats from miles away, so how did she not see Euron's 11 ships? Daenerys suffers a terrible loss, and it doesn't feel earned or meaningful. It feels like a stupid, implausible fuck-up. At least it's finally confirmed that Varys is a mermaid, an old theory from the books. Daenerys wants to retaliate by attacking King's Landing, and Varys warns her again that that would kill thousands of innocents. Varys looks Dany in the eye and says she's making a mistake. Because last season, Varys promised that he would warn Dany if he loses faith in her, and Dany had promised that she would burn Varys if he betrays her. It's starting to look pretty likely that that'll happen. Daenerys says it's her destiny to free the world from tyrants. Maybe the way she'll fulfill that is by destroying the Iron Throne, a symbol of tyranny. Varys is worried by Dany's talk of destiny. People like Melisandre have done terrible, fiery things in the name of destiny. But it also seems like destiny saved everyone's ass in the Long Night. Whether for good or for evil, Dany's destiny surely involves fire. Daenerys takes Tyrion's advice and faces Cersei at King's Landing. Realistically, Cersei would just use all this weaponry to murder them on sight, but that wouldn't make for interesting drama. So Qyburn comes out to talk, like the mouth of Sauron, but he won't listen to Tyrion's attempts at compromise. So Tyrion approaches Cersei directly, saying that Cersei's not a monster, that she should surrender to save herself and her unborn child. Cersei has lied and betrayed Tyrion over and over, but Tyrion still wants to believe that he can save his sister. Cersei is moved by his words, but she's too proud and too hateful to back down. Cersei executes Missandei, and it's tragic that Missandei dies wearing chains. Daenerys freed Missandei from slavery, but Cersei takes Missandei's freedom as well as her life. Grey Worm is heartbroken and furious. Missandei was everything to him. But no one is angrier than Daenerys. Cersei has killed Dany's closest friend and killed Rhaegal, one of her children, as Mother of Dragons. She's just lost Jorah and half her armies last episode, and her allies plot against her behind her back. Daenerys has waited 7 seasons to take the throne, and now she's ready to burn anything in her way. Missandei's last word is Dracarys, which means fire. So will Daenerys burn King's Landing in a fury like her father, the Mad King? Will Daenerys become the tyrant that she came to destroy? And what will her allies do? Will Varys undermine Daenerys? Will Tyrion stay loyal? Will Jon have to put down his love? It would be a depressing ending if 7 seasons of Daenerys' rise to power ends in her going crazy and getting killed. But Dany's actress has hinted that she's not happy with the ending. Next episode will be bloody and fiery and dark. This season of Game of Thrones is full of dragons and armies and magic, but sometimes the most powerful force in the story is information. The secret of Jon's Targaryen identity could end Dany's quest for the throne, and Varys has always known the power of secrets.
Secrets are worth more than silver or sapphires, Varys claimed.
In the books, Varys' motivations run much deeper than just helping the realm. He and Illyrio have personal stakes in a complex conspiracy involving Targaryens, the Golden Company, and dangerous secrets. You can start the book series for free today by signing up for a trial with Audible. Members get a book each month, and if you cancel, you keep the books. You can read in the car or the gym, or while you sit on your boat taking pot shots at dragons. Sign up at audible.com/ASX. Thanks for watching. We're holding live streams right after each episode of Thrones, and patrons can watch past live streams. Thanks to Ertach Altanos for the artwork, and thanks to the patrons, including Sam London of House Vimbley, first of his name, Lord of Union Square, and Protector of the Realm. Thanks to Peter Meehan, Maria Isabel Mendoza, Sigma927, Caitlin E. Wilson, Melina Cuerton, and Kamikaze. Cheers.